Uh, yeah, I'm going to start by welcoming everyone, but let me, with your indulgence, remind ourselves why we are here with this song.
All right, Africa unite, Africa unite. Mama, 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 mama,
So we are
mama,
here because of
mama.
unification, the total
You
liberation,
Africans must be
and the
united.
development of Africa,
Things
our
will be
homeland.
fine. Mama
So that's why
Africa
we're here.
will be united.
And
Things will be fine.
this song is to
You
remind us
Africans must be
why we are
united.
here,
Things will be fine.
why we want
Mama
to
Africa will be
start,
united.
if not
Things will be
initiating,
fine.
a
If we
conversation amongst
divided, we
Africans.
will fall. And then we come together, we get stronger.
If
If
all
we
Africa comes
divided,
together,
we will fall.
we
And
will
then we come
win.
together, we get stronger. Long time Rastafari call his children to build up Africa. Long time Rastafari call his children to build up Africa. You Africans must be united. Things will be fine. Mama Africa will be united. Things will be fine. You Africans must be united. Things will be fine. Mama Africa will be united. Things will be fine. Your children,
So if you've
living
just
in a
joined us,
bondage.
we are hearing from
They're
Brother
living
PG
in a
today
bondage.
on
They're living in a
Matigari,
bondage.
a book written by Ikubi Watiumi.
Freedom
I'll provide
from
the
mental
wider
slavery,
clarification in a moment.
from
But the purpose of this
brutality,
song is to
from
remind
tribal
you, sons and daughters of
war.
Africa,
You
why we are meeting
Africans
today.
must be united. Things will be fine. Mama Africa will be united. Things will be fine. You Africans must be united. Things will be fine. Mama Africa will be united. Things will be fine. When we work and we conquer we riches, things will be fine. When we work and we conquer with diamonds, things will be fine. South Africa and Zimbabwe unite, things will be fine. Senegal and Guinea be unite, things will be fine. So many of your children have been in slavery, not to be paid. Oh, Mama Africa, I love you so much. Hear what I say. Africa,
All right, thank you. I will stop the song there because we'll come back to it in the interlude after about an hour of our being here. We shall continue to hear this song and many others on African unity. Sometimes some of us do not realize how many songs our artists and our freedom fighters have produced, all in furtherance of the call for the unification of Africa, both on the continent and in the diaspora. So welcome to Consensusism Study Group. This is where we discuss the philosophy and the ideology of consensusism, which is the philosophy and ideology of Pan-Africanism. Of the three Pan-Africanisms that are possible, all of which are being practiced on the continent, namely conservative Pan-Africanism, liberal Pan-Africanism, and radical Pan-Africanism. The third Pan-Africanism, as radical Pan-Africanism, which is also progressive Pan-Africanism, is the one that is represented by the philosophy and ideology of conservatism. Today, as we speak, as we gather here, the continent of Africa is dominated by the conservatives and the liberals, which is a reverse of what happened in the 1960s. The radicals, the progressives, were the dominant force of the continent. Most of our gains have been reversed, and the liberals and the conservatives who fought the radicals, those who didn't want to be part of imperialist Africa, and were fought by the liberals and the conservatives. Today, the entire continent is dominated by these conservative and liberal forces. What has Africa to show for it? Pervasive poverty, our inability to eat properly, can't pay our rent, our children can't go to school. There are children roaming the streets of Africa, not in school. Our precious human resources have been destroyed before our very eyes. And in that struggle for our liberation, unification, and development, our brothers and sisters in Kenya, called the Mau Mau, rose to defend the motherland, to fight for their inalienable right to property. That property which is the purpose of imperialism, to steal. That which for which they will steal, kill, and destroy. African property. Our brothers and sisters in Kenya rose to fight for that which is theirs. And they were prepared to lay down their lives. Oh, yes. And we remember them, and we should always remember them. The Dedan Kimathis, great warriors, which in my language is called Kaneto. They feared no one. Oh, yes. They are not afraid of anybody. To fight, defend Africa. And these are the same who form our armies, our soldiers. And so today, we are going to hear from our own brother, who we love and respect so much, Brother Pigeon, who is a Kenyan. He's going to speak to us. And he's going to speak to us on the book that Ngugi wa Thiong'o wrote. And Ngugi wa Thiong'o, let's not forget, is a writer that wrote books on which some of us were fed when we were in school. Some of the titles, you remember, are titles like Whip Not Child, which we read as part of our literature in school. There were others like Zambia Shall Be Free, written by Kenneth Kaunda. These books were staples when we went to school. And we read books like books with names like Ali, and Amma, and so on. And the love for ourselves and the love for our language. And here I'm talking about Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana, by the way. That love was kindled in us. Just as there are today those Africans who have no love for foreign names, who love their local names. The Kwames, the Kojos, the Pigeons, the Ngugis, And if you look on the continent, the nation that loves its names, above all, if you ask me, are our brothers and sisters, the Nigerians. Oh, the Nigerians, when it comes to names, are the opposite of Ghanaians in some cases. Ghanaians love English names. Oh, Ghanaians love English names. Nigerians, they have no interest in English names. They prefer their African names. And Ngugi wa Thiong'o of Kenya is one of those who has always been calling for a renaissance based on, if you want to go for the translation of all Africa's books, of all global important books, into our local languages. So Ngugi wrote a book, Matigari, to tell the story of how the fighters returned after fighting for the land, only to come and find Africans and Europeans, working together to deprive them of the property for which they had fought. And the Matigaris decided to go back into the jungle and fight again. We here are here, but let's remind ourselves that the time again is coming when we must fight again. This time, we are not fighting to defeat colonialism. We are fighting to defeat neocolonialism. So, let's hear from our own brother. This may be his first presentation because it's a book and he may not be able to present all of it at the same time. So this is only part one. So let's hear from our brother, and whilst he speaks to us on Matigari. Amrit Pigeon, over to you. Thank you. So if you have just joined us, we are going to hear from our brother, Brother Pigeon, who is going to speak to us on Matigari, which is a book by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, which details the struggle by the Mau Mau for the land, and how returning from the bush after fighting came to find that there were other people occupying the very property for which they had fought. And that's the story of Matigari. Brother Pigeon has, it appeared, dropped out, so he should hopefully rejoin us as soon as he can, and he can do the presentation. In the meantime, whilst we're waiting for Brother Pigeon to return, let's hear from our brothers and sisters who are here. There's our senator is here with our senator. Welcome. Brother Victor, welcome also. Charles, welcome. And Brother Coco, welcome. Brother Coco is having a presentation. They are doing a program tomorrow. I think it's in the evening on Sunday. So if anybody here can, they should also join them. I'm sure they will share the links with us later. Yeah, so let's have a conversation whilst we wait for Brother Pigeon to join us. Let's hear from the senator first. Senator, share something with us, please. Unmute yourself and share something with us.
Hello, guys. How is everyone today?
Well,
How
I'm
is everyone
fine.
today?
I hope everyone is fine. Brother Coco, Charles, Victor, Senator is talking to you. Can you unmute and respond, please? I'm sure we're all fine, sir.
Yeah, we are good. We are good. We are good. Yeah.
Senator, we are all right. I'm good here in the UK.
Yeah, we are just going through a moment in Zimbabwe after our general elections. The general elections are over, but the main opposition party is not recognizing the outcome of the elections. So we are at loggerheads at the moment. However, the country is there's peace in the country. The main opposition party is waiting for the SADC summit report to come back. So there's a bit of tension anyway on the ground, although there's no violence. The main opposition party thinks that the elections were rigged, but it couldn't go to the courts because here in Zimbabwe, opposition political parties don't trust the courts. we do believe that the courts always favor the ruling party. And as a result, people have no confidence in the courts anyway. We know that even if you take your case, as long as you challenge the ruling party, the courts have no capacity to rule against the ruling party. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. And you know, Zimbabwe is under sanctions, and elections are used as a tool to remove sanctions, which therefore means Zimbabwe will continue to be under sanctions. And the economy of our country is not doing well. There's a lot of unemployment in the country. Most of our youth are not working. And our exchange rate in terms of the US dollar to the local currency is very high. And things are quite expensive in Zimbabwe at the moment. We really thought that something was going to happen positive after the elections. But however, we seem to be in the same tough situation we were before elections. And we do believe this is something associated with the post-liberation war parties. The elections that are taking place in post-liberation war countries, you know, the freedom fighters will never hand over power to the opposition. This has been established in so many countries that went for the liberation war, such as Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa, Angola, and Namibia. Just mentioned a few. In those countries, elections will never be free and fair because of the post-liberation hegemony. You know, the war between the imperialists and the black people. It was about fighting colonialism. So whenever you go for elections, the war of liberation, the freedom fighters feel that if they are to surrender power to the opposition party, they've surrendered the power to the imperialists. Which means that in all these countries, democracy will never be interpreted the way we want to interpret it. So we need to look at these particular challenges, what can be done to make sure that the people of our countries would really enjoy democracy as we want it. From my experience, you know, Zimbabwe, Morgan Tsvangirai, before he died, he defeated ZANU-PF on several occasions. But the power transfer has always been a challenge. So the power transfer in Zimbabwe is a very, very big challenge. The freedom fighters will do anything to make sure that they remain in power. So that's the challenge that we have, in particular in Zimbabwe. And I do believe in many countries that went for the war of liberation, they will have these kind of problems. So Africa needs to look at this. Are we doing the right thing? The democracy that we are pursuing in Africa, is it the right thing for us? Will it really bring unity, peace, and happiness among our people? Will it not be the platform for black men to black men fights? Are we not going to be fighting among ourselves? At the end of the day, are we not going to destroy our economies? At the end of the day, who's going to suffer more? And as we do these elections, are we not also creating an environment where the Western world continue to manipulate us, where the Western world continue to probably further their imperialism on us using the term called democracy? Is the way democracy we're following today the right thing for us? As Africans, can we look at our own democracy, an Afrocentric democracy, which should be able to put in place so that we are united, we have got peace, so that we got shared vision, so that we are able to develop our own economies. Currently, I see it as a very big challenge that the war between us Africans and the Western world is continuous and is going to be used. The war continues under this platform called electoral democracy. So as we discuss the true African continent, the true independence for us, the true freedom for us, we must be able to look at what is currently being used by the Western world to keep us fighting among ourselves. If you look at the entire Africa, you can't point one country which is developing economically proportional to its economic resources on the ground. Why? Because we're always at war. After every election, there is fight between the ruling party and the opposition political parties. And this is what the Western world would want. So really, as we discuss some of these things, let's look at the best, how best Africans can develop their own systems that has no relationship with the Western world. So
Yeah.
really,
Very much so.
as we discuss the war of liberation by the Mau Mau, let us go to the key objectives. What is it that they wanted to achieve? If they achieved what they wanted to achieve by then, the people that died during the liberation war, is it exactly what they wanted to see, what we're going through at the moment? These are some of the questions that we need to deliberate and probably come out solutions. Thank you so much.
No, thank you too for putting Brother Pigeon's coming presentation to perspective. Because, like you said, Senator, the fighters went to fight and they fought for something specific. And given where we are now, and as you said, the post-election conflicts on the continent, will the fighters be happy that this is what they gave their lives for or not? And I think what you have said has raised the issue also for us, and maybe you can lead that for us another time, which is post-election conflicts on the continent. You know, the whole question of post-election conflicts and whether or not the unification of the continent can help solve that problem once and for all. Now, if we unite as a continent, will the post-election conflicts be solved once and for all? So thank you very much for that. Brother Pigeon, are you ready now? I know you've had challenges.
Yes, Brother Kwame. Can you hear me?
Okay, so yeah, we can hear you. The floor is yours. I noticed that not only yourself, but others are also experiencing internet challenges. Brother Victor, for instance, has dropped out again. So hopefully we'll get some more people coming in as their internet is able to let them. But that is why we are recording this event, so that those who can attend can also listen. So thank you, Comrade Pigeon. Brother Pigeon, please carry on. Thank you. Yeah, Brother Pigeon, you ready? If you are speaking, we can't hear you. Or maybe I can, but maybe others can. Can anyone else hear Brother Pigeon?
I can't hear. I cannot hear him.
You cannot hear him, so it's not just me then. Brother Pigeon, we can't hear you. Oh, he's dropped out again. So he's clearly having challenges with his internet. Okay. So okay. Right. Brother Senator, did you have anything more to say? Maybe you can finish it. If not, then we can ask Brother Coco to share something whilst we wait for Pigeon.
Not for today.
Okay.
I'm through for today, but I would like to present the proper argument in the next lesson.
Okay, excellent. All right. So we'll we can arrange for you to do a presentation for us, most definitely. Okay, Brother Coco, do you have anything you want to tell us whilst we wait for Pigeon to sort his internet out?
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. For the presentation tomorrow.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Can
now.
you hear me?
Yeah, Brother Coco,
Okay.
hold on. Yeah, we can hear you now. I don't know what you look like having a lot of challenges. It looks like the enemy doesn't want you to talk about Matigari.
Yes. Allow me to go on before it brings the issue.
Okay, all right, Brother Coco, you hold your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Brother Pigeon, and then we'll come back to you. Thank you.
Allow
Carry
me
on, Brother
start by,
Pigeon. Yeah, carry on.
allow me start by appeasing the spirits of the ancestors so that they can bless this actually presentation. And by saying that we remember their souls and their struggles wherever they are, and may they guide us and bless us in our struggle for liberation, unification, and development of Africa. And whenever they are, they must actually not be so disappointed with what you're doing, but must appreciate the effort some of us are doing today in order to reclaim what is right for them. So may the spirits of ancestors and these freedom fighters work with us in this presentation. That's all. Amen. So as I start off, I'll start off by first of all recognizing Sister Wangari Wachogi. She is the coordinator of Mau Mau in Kenya. I've worked with her several journeys in trying to fight for the rights for the Mau Mau. And also, actually, she has been the coordinating the elderly and the old Mau Mau. In the last 4 months, we must recognize that over 3 freedom fighters have died. The wife of Dedan Kimathi was buried. General Kiboko was buried. And recently, we also had General Mudhoni Wakirima, who is the Field Marshal Mudhoni Wakirima, who is also a freedom fighter. So I would like, first of all, to give Sister Wangari at least 2 minutes before I present my presentation to introduce herself and what she is engaged with in regards to Mau Mau. Kindly, Sister Wangari, if you are able, just have 2 minutes to tell the members all about what you've been doing in just 2 minutes or 3 minutes before I start off my presentation. Sister Wangari?
Are you hearing me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yes,
Sister.
I am Wangari Washogi. I'm the Mau Mau coordinator. I deal with fighting for their justice. Both national and international. So it has not been an easy task because at present, even our government has not yet recognized them the way they are supposed to recognize them. I've been trying to make sure they don't use them for political gain, especially whenever one of them dies. They prefer to come during the burial. Even at times, they don't even participate in even the expenses. Despite that, from behind the scenes, I'm aware that there is some money set aside for them. Whenever they are sick, whenever they die, they are supposed to meet the expenses. But this has not been the case. There has been the selected few. And on account when they want to do politics using the platform. Therefore, all I can say is that the fight is still on, and especially for us, the descendants of the Mau Mau freedom fighters, because justice has never given to our forefathers, despite them having sacrificed for the freedom of this country. I also would like to make sure that people in this team understand that Kenya has never gotten its independence. It said what is called a constitution is a court order, which was handed over to our first president, Jomo Kenyatta, but he was not given the real constitution. It was said that it will be given after some 25 years, which expired in 1988. Yet we have nobody has ever claimed the justice for the Mau Mau, and that is why our country is still economically controlled by the former colonialists, and they still own very large lands in Kenya, including very expensive hotels. One, for example, one of them, for a day, you pay 670,000 shillings, Kenya shillings. That one I don't know what I can say in dollars. Maybe Beijing can help me, but it's quite a lot of money. If a dollar was 100 shillings, that means it is 6,700. So you can imagine. That's all I can say for now.
Thank you, Sister Wangari, for that introduction.
And
Of
for your
course, our struggle
information,
continue.
let me say something. And for your information, I'm not paid by anybody. I only volunteer in everything I do. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now, as I'll be moving straight to my presentation today, permit me first of all to give a bit later of history of Mau Mau. These are people, men and women, who went in the forest to fight for the freedom of this country. And majority, they were called, of course, the land and freedom fighters. They were fighting for land and freedom. And basically, they started that fight long ago, but by 1951-52, they went into the forest. They stayed there. And for so many, they stayed until as close as when they came back out of the forest to fight again once they realized that they did not actually achieve or attain what they wanted. Now, Ngugi wa Thiong'o has written this book called Matigari Njirugi, which of course Sister Wangari might understand well because this is her dialectical language. To the translation is called The Patriot Who Survived the Bullets. Now, here is a story of a freedom fighter who actually went into the forest, forced into the forest, when the white man came and took over his home that he had built and turned him to be a servant in his home. He became even a worker in his farm. And this is what happened in many parts of course, central Kenya and the what's so-called White Island. When the white man came, they actually decided to demarcate our land and made us, who are the land, of course, owner, become the land servants, like the servants of their land, the CFs or whatever you call them. And therefore, this soldier called Matigari, in the fight and the struggle within so-called white man represented by the name Sir Williams, in his house, decides to fight to know who will actually own the house, because he had a right that the house belongs to him. He went along to take the trigger, the bullet of the Sir Williams. And this is where the battle starts with. When he tried to take the trigger and the bullet to shoot Sir Williams, one of the black man called John Boy, who was a servant to this white man, decides to support and work together with the white man to bring down Matigari. In fact, he jumped onto Matigari. And Matigari explains later in his book that this man was so heavy that when he jumped onto him, they wanted actually to finish him with his, of course, now the Lord, the white man. There is now a black man supporting another white man to kill a black man who is fighting for his property and his home. Matigari explains that he managed to escape through the window and actually went straight into the forest. And these Sir Williams and John Boy followed him. Now that is how he loses his property as he runs into the forest. Now when he went into the forest, it was now the hide and seek. Each and every of them was seeking each other to kill each other. Sir Williams wanted to kill Matigari in the forest, and Matigari, now the owner of the house, became, of course, the person to be hunted. So it was the story of the hunter and the whatever is to be hunted. Now, over a period of time, Matigari later on explained that he managed, first of all, to kill John Boy in the forest. Then finally, at last, he managed to kill Sir Williams. And he says this in his page 3 of his book, that after killing Sir Williams, he held an AK-47 in his right hand, while his left hand was raised to shield his face while he looked across the river. as he had often done over many years, across many hills and valleys in the four corners of the globe. It was all over now, but he knew he had to be so careful. So killing Sir Williams, which in any symbols you might know what it represents, but killing Sir Williams, it meant either to my side represent getting independence. To him, he knew that that was the end of the war. But still, he told himself that he must exercise some caution, that he must be careful. Now he goes ahead and he describes the character of this white man. He says, the settlers had loved shedding bloods. They will dress in red, and the rider who go to the fox first will cut off its tail in triumph. Then he will smear the blood of a fox in the face of a woman. We've seen this in so many stories. Yes, it felt like a long time back. Well, there was no night so long that it could not end with a dawn. So, of course, this is the beginning of the story, when Matigari actually managed to kill Sir Williams. With this direction, Chair, I seek either to give me 30 minutes so that I can be able to wind it. Would that be okay? So that maybe presentations can come in later, questions.
Sorry, what was your question again?
Yeah.
What is
My
your
question is, will you permit me to have 30 minutes of presentation?
Yes. I thought that's what you're already doing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, of course, when Matigari kills the white man, he decides now to get out of the forest. And he goes straight, actually looking at where he could put down his arms or ammunitions or armory that he has been carrying for so long in the forest in the fight to actually bring down Sir Williams. And he says, he walked along the banks of the river, then suddenly he saw that there was what he was looking for, a huge Mugumo fig tree right in the middle of the cluster of the trees. Mugumo tree, Sister Wangari will tell you, is one of the spiritual trees that, of course, the people of Kikuyu community could go there to offer sacrifice to their god called Ngai, and they could actually treat it as more of the spiritual tree up to date. Mugumo tree is still under a spiritual tree where people actually meet together as they discuss the issues of the community and offer their sacrifices to their god. Now, in this Mugumo tree, he smiled to himself and he stood with his AK-47 against the tree, and he drew his swords from where it was hidden beneath his coat. He began digging the ground next to the central root. He covered the bottom of the hole with the dry leaves. He now looked at AK-47 wrapped in a plastic sheet and carefully laid it in the hole. He washed his shield in the river, put it back in its sheath, and then placed it in the hole beside the rifle. Around his waist, he wore a cartridge belt decorated with red, blue, and green beads. Red, blue, and green beads, and from which hung a pistol holster. He slowly unfastened the belt, counted the bullet, rolled it up carefully, and then placed it next to the swords of AK-47. He looked at these for a while, perhaps bidding them goodbye. He covered them with a dry soil. He rubbed all of the traces of his footsteps, then covered the spot with the dry leaves so skillfully that nobody will actually suspect that he was there. And then that's how he surrenders his armory after killing the white man. Now he takes the journey to get out, now come back out of the forest to start looking for his family, and so that he can go back to his home. He says in his page 5 that he tried to visualize his home. In his mind's eye, he could see the hedge of the rich fields so clearly. Just another climb in the final climb, and then he will be home. He's home on top of the hill. So the freedom fighter now is coming back home after killing the white man. Then he said somewhere in between that as he was walking along, he got a bit tired along the journey. But he moved slowly, as he moved slowly until he reached one of the company. After a long walk, the company was called Anglo-American Leather and Plastic Works, which was a private company. He said He described the company, how it looked like. He said that a wire fence ran around the vast compound. The factory building itself was inside a wall of metal sheet, while a barbed wire fenced the workers' quarter. Then a red tractor was coming from the factory. It carted 3 trailers load of rubbish. Now he brings the second scenario, which is very important here. His first interaction out of the forest, he gets to a company. And he believed that where people are working probably might find his family. But closer to this company, he gets interrupted by this tractor. Then this tractor, he says, that takes him to something horrible that will be very important to the story. He says he saw the red tractors making his way back to the market. The trailers were now heaped with more rubbish from the market. But why are the children running away from the tractor? My children. Because his intention from the forest was to look for his children. When he saw the tractor moving from the factory, going down probably to the garbage, the children were running following the tractor. Then he quickened his pace and followed the children and the tractor. His heart beat wildly. Let me hurry and tell them that I'm back. He thought they were his children. Or probably his understanding of coming back for his children means coming back for the family as a whole. Then he says, let me tell them the years of roaming and wandering are over. We shall go home together. We shall enter the house together. We shall light the fire together. After all, the struggle was for the house, wasn't it? A home, a shelter, with children playing on the veranda in an open air, sharing with the little we have, joy after the suffering, cold hunger, nakedness, sleepless night, fatigue, and how often did we come close to death? Victory is born of struggle. There's no night so long that it does not end with the dawn. So this is what he tells himself as he moved around and actually saw the children. And very important issues is here, the struggle for his homestead, which is the property we are talking about. Then he goes ahead to describe what he saw in the garbage. In page 11, it says the children raised the tractor to the garbage yard, a huge whole fence around with barbed wire. Some vultures perched on the barbed wire, while others sat on the branches of the tree nearby. Hawks hovering dangerously in the sky. A pack of straw dogs walked about, sniffing here and there at the rubbish. 2 men stood at the only entrance to the yard, arranging the children in queue. He wondered, what are they queuing for? The tractor drove into the yard with the vultures now hovering over it and dogs running alongside, sniffing in anticipation. A terrible stench filled the air. The driver tipped the rubbish in 3 heaps. No sooner had he finished than the dogs, the vulture, and the children went scrabbling for the heaps of rubbish. He now understood what was going on. Each child had to pay a fee to enter. Enter where? To the garbage. So that they can get a ticket that can enable them to fight it out with dogs, vultures, rats, and all sorts of scavengers and vermin for a piece of string, a patch of cloth, odd bits of leather, shoelaces, rubber bands, thread, rotten tomato, sugar chaff, banana peels, bones, anything. This is what the children were running for, so that at least they could get a food or something to eat after all waiting for this. So this is another serious scenario that is very empathetic as what was he saw after coming out of the forest, what he saw out of this. Then, of course, he gets to interact with one of the child. He asks them more about what happens. Then he tells them that they actually have to pay for that ticketing to get into the garbage. And once they get out, they really need to run away from the elderly, because some of them might actually pick something tangible from them, either the radios they got from there or any other better shoe they could actually be grabbed by the people, the elders who could take it away from them. He goes with this young man called Muriuki to where they stay. Then they move and move and move around. But when they reach where these kids were staying, actually, he was surprised. And he says in page 14, they walk past the marketplace into their left and through the shopping center on a story building. Then he came to a place called, of course, a big field where he saw very big old vehicles heaped together. Then the young man says, Yes, here is where our houses are. Each one of us has his own house. Mine is a Mercedes Benz. So this is a description of the life of the children immediately after independence who are staying in the streets and those who are living in a very pathetic life. Of course, through this introduction, the children chased him away and stoned him, and he walked around, he ran around as people were laughing, as a madman. He fell down after some blood came out of his body. Then one of the workers from the factory met him, and this worker was called Garuro Wamiriuki. And Garuro Wamiriuki looked at each other wonderless and asking the same question, what had happened to this old man's wrinkles? Then he asked him, what's your name? The old man asked him, he said, I'm Garuro Kiruro. Then he said to him, my name is Matigari Manjirugi. Yes, that's my name. So Garuro asked him, the patriots who survived the bullets? Then he told, oh, you know them. Yes, that's us. So that's how I get the next person who will be very important in this story called Ngaruri Wakiriro. Then they walked with Garuri Wakiriro to go look for something or somewhere they could eat. Along the journey as they walked, they passed through, of course, a restaurant. And in this day, it's believed that the workers in the company were to have their strike. So they get through the restaurant, and actually they enter into one of the hotels where they could actually get something to eat. In the story, it's called the right pronunciation. Then they ask her. So Gushara has all her stories. They make their own laughing stories as women. Then all along, then Gushara says why she hates the police officers. So she is a woman who always hates police officers. And she says, to me, corpse money stinks of blood. So this is a woman who has been turned to be a prostitute. And of course, she'll be explaining later how her life turned to be prostitute. But she says, even if she's prostitute, she might never sleep, and she can never sleep with a white man, a white police officer. Another, she says, to make corpse money stink of blood. Then she stand and then got her introduction. They talked with of course, Matigari as they share some information there. Then all along, Bushera then disappeared through the doorway. As they were sitting here eating and discussing, she then disappears. Then Matigari held his chin, sadly contemplating what had taken place. Then the woman at the counter were now talking about her. But suddenly, what happens? They were suddenly startled by the blood-curdling growl of a dog, followed by the chilling scream of a woman. The barmaids ran out, followed by Miruki. The dog continued growling. The woman's screams were of pure terror. Miruki returned to the bar, trembling from head to heel. Then he said, it is the woman. Then they asked, what happened? They are setting the dog on her. So this Gushera, who actually came in and was afraid of the police officer and hated with the police officer, like she saw the police officers and then she ran through the back door. And unfortunately, the police officers who were chasing her got her. Then actually they now set the dog to her so that actually the dog could either scare her or actually bite her. Then this is where now Matigari comes out of the house. Then he finds a crowd of people stood or who are standing around Gushera, watching the policeman unleash terror on the woman. She was kneeling on the ground. The dog will heap towards her, but each time its muzzles came closer to her eyes. The police officer who held the lead restrained it. Then Matigari wonders what's going on here. But all of a sudden, Matigari actually shot out of his seat and started darting outside, followed by Miruki. Then they went along to actually try to intervene. Then Matigari intervened by saying, what's going on here? Are you going to let our children be made to eat shit while we stand around nodding in his approval? How can you stand there watching the beauty of our land being drawn down by this beast? What is so funny about that? Why do you hide behind a cloak of silence and let yourselves be ruled by fear? Remember the saying that too much fear breeds misery in the land. By now, all eyes were on Matigari. The crowd parted as they would to give way for the lunatic Matigari without changing his head space, now pointing the fingers at the police officer and told them, Leave her alone. Who gives you the right to interfere with the law? The policeman who held the dog asked him, what kind of law is this which allow a policeman to harass defenseless woman? The police officers became uneasy since he did not know that who this man was or what he was making him so confident. He goes ahead and tells them, do you know that this woman had disobeyed the police officer's orders to stop? We are here to ensure police peace and stability, the policeman says. Then the exchange went along for some period of time. Then they of course threatened Matigari, but when Matigari became so brave enough, they decided to walk away. Then he says when they dared him, in fact, what he said is that just you dare try, you will know exactly whom I am or who you are dealing with. Then the police officer asked him, who are you? He said, I'm Matigari Manjurugi. The courage of truth at once again transformed him. So he exchanged what's here with this police officer, and then the police officer gave up, and then they went away. So after serving this woman, of course, as we move along in page 36, they came back to the restaurant where they were. And the woman, of course, come back and now engage him respectfully and ask him what he's looking for. And then, of course, he said that he's looking for his family. Then they said that if you're looking for your family, then maybe probably go to the tea farms where they're plucking the tea, of course, picking the tea. But this woman decided to give a little story about her life and how her life was ruled. This is now Guthera. And she says, one day, her earthly father was arrested. She went to see him in prison. She went to the superintendent of the police to ask why her father had been arrested. Then the police officer told her, your father was found carrying bullets in his Bible. The girl denied this. Then he told the girl, go ask your father. They brought him handcuffed. When she saw him like this, she began to cry. The police officers left her for a while. Then he asked the father, is it true? But the father admitted, yes, for there is no greater love than this, that men and women should give up their lives for the people by taking to the mountains and the forest. This is the greatest commandment of all Christian commandments and of all the religions on earth from the Muhammad to Buddha. The girl was greatly shocked and for a while remained speechless. Being found in possession of bullets carried with it a death sentence, they took her father back to the cell. The superintendent came out smiling slyly. Then he said to the woman, my superiors do not know about this yet. We can settle this matter between us here and now. Give me your purity, which is her virginity, and I will give your parent back to you. The young maiden remained silent. The superintendent explained further, you are carrying your father's life between your legs. The girl went back home, knelt in prayers for the Heavenly Father, pleading with him for guidance. Next morning, she paid the priest a visit. He opened the Bible and read the 10 Commandments to her. Thou shalt not have no any other gods. And all the 10 Commandments were read. They knelt down together in prayer. The priest asked for the Heavenly Father to give courage to his servants so that she would always walk in the paths of the virtue and righteousness. The following day, the girl went back to the police station. Again, the superintendent told her, your father, of course, she said, your father is among those who call themselves patriot. He has been assisting the terrorists with supplies of bullets. The crime of being found in possession of bullets without license carries a death sentence. But I shall help you, the police officer insists. Nobody outside these police stations know about this. We can trade your innocence for your father's life. The girl answered, I will never forsake my father, the creator of heaven and earth. He laid down the commandment. After reading the commandment, then the police officers told her, say goodbye to your father. Then her earthly father was killed. Their land was confiscated by the colonial government, and the girl was left to fend for the brothers and sisters. That's where the problem began. And that's how she started selling her body. And that's what went along. So this is her hatred and what actually mistakenly happened to the life of this lady. So then Matigari said to her, there are two types of believers. breaking the silence that followed after this narration, those who love their country and those who will sell it. So this is another serious category in this story that we must learn. Matigari says there are two types of believers, those who love their country and those who will sell it. There are also those two types of soldiers. Some are there to protect the people, others are there to attack them. I have never seen even one of them protecting the people. The lady responded. And what of your father, such a patriot, a servant of the people? There are also two types of men in this land. Those who sell it out, the traitors, and those who serve the people, the patriots. Then the story continues. So they went along after their interaction, then they went to the field. And in the field, of course, they met the 3 army trucks and 4 police Land Rovers who were, of course, passing them by as they were trying to move to the field to look for the family. Then all of a sudden, Matigari decided to change his mind. Then he decided now to go back to his house because he saw the house on the top of the hill. So he went to his house straight. Then what happened? As he was going to his house, in the gate of his house, after going to the farm and it was late in the night, they could not find the family, he decided that no matter what happens, because that's the same day he came from the forest, he must go sleep in his house. So when he went to his house, he found a white man and a black man who sat on the horseback on one side of the narrow tarmac road next to the gate. Their horses were exactly alike. So this, of course, is the description of the son of Sir Williams, whom he killed, the white man, and the son of the housemaid who helped Sir William to actually try to kill Matigari, who is called the John Boy. So this is the son of John Boy, the black son, and the son of Sir Williams, the white son. Then, even as the apostles sat in the saddle, were exactly the same. He says that the riders too wore clothes of the same color. The similarity, he's trying to bring the similarity between the black and the white man here. He says that even their posture as they sat in the saddle were exactly the same. The way they held their whims and their reins, no different. And they spoke in the same manner. They were about to part. Then Matigari, of course, come and interferes with this man. Then one of the young men in the black asked him, "Hey, Mzee," which is old man. The black man shouted, "Can't you see that sign there? The sign was written, 'There's no road here.'" Then he turned, look at him for a while, and then asked him, "Is that where the key are?" Sarcastically. This young man tells him, "Hey, don't you see there's no road here? There's a sign that there's no entrance here." Then Matigari sarcastically says to him, "Does it mean that's where you're pointing is where the keys are?" And the young man asks, "What keys?" But he said, "The keys to the house, this home." Then he asked, "This house?" Then my young man asked him, "What do you need the keys for?" "To let myself into the house. I have wandered far too long for many years, far too many places over this earth. So you think this is an hotel?" The young man responds. And then the black man now got off his horse, of course, that black young man. Then, still on his horse, he came near to Matigari and the gate in one hand. "Is he all right?" So the white man was not getting what was going on between the young man and the black young man and the old man here. But of course, Matigari went ahead. They asked him, "Who are you?" He now asked them, Matigari Manjurugi. He said to them, "And what do you want?" "The key to my house." "Do you know whose house is it? Do you know whose home this is?" "Of course I do. It's mine. It belongs to me and to all my people." Then, of course, he says that this house belongs to his family. So the black man was translating this to the white man. Then, "How is it yours?" They were asking the Matigari. He now spoke condescendingly to Matigari as a sober policeman who will actually question a drunk man. The question, "How is it yours?" triggered another memory in Matigari's, and his thoughts transported him back to distant places years before. He let out a sigh, letting go to the gate. He turned to the black man and began talking to him. Now it seemed that Matigari was explaining something complex to him. He said to him, "My child, do you ask me how this house was mine? It is a long story. There's so much to tell. Do you see this house? Do you see these tea plantations and this road? Who do you think built them? And mark you, I did not begin yesterday. I've seen many things over the years. Just consider, I was there at the time the Portuguese, and at the time the Arabs, and at the time the British. Look, I don't want history, the young man, of course, responded. This house, do you think that this house has a story different from the story of these hands? Of course, now I tried to explain to the young man how actually he built the house. Then he says, hands of the makers of human history. Do you know Settler Williams? So the young man was surprised. So this man knows Settler Williams. So he never knew that these were the sons, of course. So he explained to them what happened with the Settler Williams, how it happened, and how he ended up chasing each other along the forest until the one day, of course, they killed each other, and he managed to kill Sir Williams. Then he goes on to say something here, that the builders demand back his house, and the tillers his hand, or the tillers his land. Who does the white man who reaps where he never sowed think he is? Does he think that he is God's representative here on earth? He told him, go home. For from this day on, the builder refuses to beg for a place where he can lay his head. The tiller refuses to starve. The tailor refuses to go without clothes. And the producer refuses to be part with his wealth. And they sang, you foreign oppressors, pack your bags and leave, for the owners of the house is on his way. When he heard this song, the settler ran to the phone telephone and rushed for safety and the guns. But there is nothing worse than slavery in this world. Slavery, yeah, slavery. So he went on with these stories a bit, which I might not go in depth about them. But what happened then? The young man, the white young man, the son of Sir Williams, went and, of course, brought the police officers. And the police officers came. Funny enough, these were the police officers actually backed off during the restaurant time. So they came, then they actually picked the freedom fighter Matigari. Then they put him to actually took him to cell. So where they actually detained him. Then all along, when he went to the cell, after all the story, they met so many other thieves there. Then when they met any other thieves there, now there's a good story in the cell there, what happened. So Matigari was flagged into a small dark cell, which wrecked with the breath of the 10 other people packed there. The heavy odor of the vomited beer, the smell of the sweat on their bodies, and that of the human sweat and blood, which had dried up on the walls of the cell over the years, made it hard for them to breathe. He fought back with difficulty the nausea that seized him. The cell was silent, but for the regular sounds of the drunken snoring as he lay in his own vomit. One of the inmates began to shout, help! Who is pissing? It's the drunkard. A number of voices answered together. The prisoner pushed into one another, trying to escape the jet of urine, but there was no space left into which they could move. Some made noises of disgust, others shouted. First, he reacted, erect. Then he pisses. Now, all that's left for him to do is to shit on us. Pinch him, wake up. Then they say, we pundamulia, which means you, zebra. One of them punched him. He woke up. The man who was actually urinating on them. Why are you showering us with your urine? And farting like an old dog. Then the drunkard asked, who? Me? Still bemused with sleep and alcohol, he said, I was just helping God to fart and vomit and urinate. And the man asked, I swear, I was just helping God to make it rain. Can't you see how the drought has spread across the country? Just feel this was or the floors, how parched they are. You see, as I stood by the road, and I could see on either sides of the dry were grass, were dry leaves and dry trees. Then I asked myself, how come the whole country is so dry? I then thought, if I let 1 or 3 drops fall, the Almighty might have mercy and follow my example and let a bit of his pee fall to benefit all of us in this country. So your vomit was a kind of sacrifice to God, one of them said sarcastically. And your fart was no doubt a sound of thunder, echoed another man. Rain, rain, come today, so I may slaughter a cow for you. And another with a harm, somebody else sang. Some laughed, but the majority were not all amused. Expressing their disgust in wordless noises, they now started talking amongst themselves. You know, there's a grain of truth in the drunk man's stories. Sometimes one can say that alcohol gives a person insight into things. Of course, I don't believe to this. These are the texts here. Drunkenness has a way of seeing things. That is very true, because what this drunken man has said has nothing apart from being the truth. Our country is truly dry. You see? So the story continues a bit, but I think this story is very important as I will be trying to explain the scenarios. I'm almost finishing. I'm left with around 5 pages to finish. So they go on with the stories and they say, our country is truly as dry as this concrete wall. Our leaders have hearts as cold as that of a pharaoh, or even colder than those of the colonialists. They cannot hear the cries of the people. You have a point there. For one, can you tell me why I was arrested today? Not about me. They all forgot about the drunkard urine and then began telling stories of their arrest. The way they talked, they might have known one another for years. One of them was a peasant farmer. He had been arrested for selling milk without a license. Just that mistake. Just one bottle of milk, my friends. Just when I had bought some candles to take home, here they came with the handcuffs. Where is your permit? Another had been arrested for stealing food from a restaurant. What could I have done? I was famished, my friends. Yet another was accused of murdering a wealthy landowner who had failed to pay his wages. Then he says, I hit him with a stick and he fell down, dead. But he had really provoked me. Just imagine your wife and children waiting for you to take some flour home, and then you walk into an empty-handed. And it's not as if you are begging. You are only demanding for the wages you have worked for. A fourth had been arrested for vagrancy. Have I turned down any job? Just imagine being arrested of vagrancy in your country, which means being joblessness or moving around aimlessly. Among them was a student who had been arrested for asking provincial officer about the running of the country since independence. And do you know what I ask? The young man, the student says, why do you wear colonial uniform? That's a simple question he asked the police commissioner. Why do you wear colonial uniforms? Are they gods so that they may not be questioned? I say, where is democracy in this country? The provincial commissioner threatened, you'll have it rough. You're a university student, and you, chief, you have failed in your duties. Or what is all this about? Mere children yelling at others in this manner. So I am under the Notorious Chief Act. The Notorious Chief Act is the act that gave the chief to actually prescribe any ruling upon any person. Then another was a teacher who had been arrested and accused of teaching Marxism and communism in class or in school. Do you know what they based the allegation on? The fact that I stated that the political and economical systems in countries like Soviet Union, China, and Cuba, and many other socialist countries are based on the teaching of Karl Marx and Lenin. I have only one question. If I can't teach the truth, what should I teach then? That's a very serious question that came from this teacher. Then the seventh man was being accused of having an intention to snatch up, of course, a rich woman's purse. Then he says, I saw this wealthy woman unrolling a wad of 100 shillings notes and thought to myself, the money belongs to us, doesn't it? I'll help her spend it. So I followed her, and when she was about to get into her Mercedes, but how was I to know that there were a plainclothes policeman right next to me? They brought me in for being a pickpocketer. And the drunkard had been arrested simply for being drunk. Can you tell me the logic of that? He asked. If I don't drink, what am I supposed to do with my life? By now, only Matigari and the two other present had not yet explained what they had been arrested for. It is true that our present leaders have no mercy, the peasant farmers added. First, they arrest us for no reason at all. Then they bring us to a cell with no toilet facility. So we end up pissing and shitting at one another, even if there were toilets. The one accused of theft said, I'll have absolutely nothing to put in my stomach. When was the last time I put a morsel in this belly? And what about me? Asked the pickpocketer. I am starving. I've often read the newspapers They do feed people in prisons. The student now said, yes, when the Lord above wills it, the drunkard exclaimed. It was then that Matigari remembered that he had some piece of food and a bottle of beer. Then he said, I have a portion of food here, packed for me earlier this day. I have always have a bottle of beer. We can all share the food and have a sip of my beer. That way, we can keep hunger at bay for a while. It is not the quantity that can count, but the act of sharing whatever we have. What did we used to sing? That great love I saw there among the men and the children. When a bean fell, we will share it among ourselves. Our people, let us share this bean and this drop of wine. Something in Matigari voice made them to listen attentively. There was a sad note about it, but it also carried some hope and courage. The others now fell silent. His words seemed to remind them of things last forgotten, carrying them back to the dreams they had long forgotten. How are we going to see in this darkness? One of them asked. Then he says, finding your mouth can't be really that hard. No one accused of murder said. The one who was accused of murder said, a bit of food might fall into the urine, said the pickpocketer, or into the vomit, the thief added. Then the vomit and the piece will be our gravy, the student joked. What are you saying? The vagrant asked in disgust. Don't you know that you can make it sick? It can make us sick or make us lose the appetite, the pickpocketer said. That's no problem. I can have your share, the thief said. Why are you on the hog in this story who looked after the expectant woman and stabbed her? Then the stories continue a bit. But I think I'm almost finishing the story of this prisoner, which is very important for this story. And he said, one of them said, I was arrested just as I came from buying the candles. He said, we can light one or two in my pocket. So the man went for the candle, had the candle in the pocket. So he could light the candle so that they could see the light and share whatever they had. Then, when the candle was lit, Matigari took the food, broke it, and gave it to them. They started eating. Then he took the bottle of beer, opened it with his teeth, poured it a little on the floor in libation, and gave them to drink and pass around. When the drunken turn came, he leaped to his feet, holding the food in his right hand and the bottle in his left hand, and he started speaking as though he was reading the Bible from the pulpit. And when the time for the supper came, he sat at the table together with his disciples. He told them, I want you to share this last supper with me, to remind us that we shall not be able to eat together again unless our kingdom comes. And he took the bread, and after breaking it, he said, this is my body, which I give unto you. Do this unto one another until the second coming. Then he took the cup, and after blessing it, he said, and this cup is a testament of covenant we've entered with one another with our blood. Do this to one another until our kingdoms come, through the will of the people. The man stopped speaking. Then Matigari turned to him. Tell us the truth. Who are you? Because I've never heard of anyone ever being allowed to carry food and beers into the cell. So they started questioning who Matigari was, and the conversation goes on. But there's one part that I really want to mention before I finished. There's a part that they say that amongst the 12 people, there must be one who is a betrayer, or one who actually is a spy in between them. Then that's how the story continued. Then at the night, when the night fell, of course, they had a sound that came over, and the doors of the prison were open, and they all walked out silently. And the next day in the morning, there was news all over that the prisoners escaped, and there were stories that went on that it was like a thunder that was heard. But behind this, it was the woman, Lady Gushera, and the young man, Miruki, who was working with Matigari, who came over. And this lady, for the first time, gave up purity to the soldier, the police officer who was guarding this prison. She slept with the police officers, and the police officer got asleep, and she picked the keys from the police officer and came and opened actually the prisons for the prisoners to live. And that is the end of part one. We will continue with part two some other time. Thank you very much. That's the end of my story. Back to you, Chair.
Let's clap for Comrade Pigeons. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Well done. Well done. Excellent. 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 Now, excellent. Let me show the reaction on the screen here. Okay. So, thank you very much for that presentation, there is a lot of allegory and analogy in all you have shared with us. A lot of that, a lot of representation of the current state of Africa as we speak. So there are, apart from yourself, there are 7 of us here today. Kopano has not got a mic, so I think he may just be listening to us but can't speak. But we've got Victor, we've got Wangari, we've got Charles, we've got Coco. The senator also has I think left, or his internet has dropped out, so he also is not here. So Teresa came and left. But for those of us who are here, shall we share our thoughts on what we have heard, please? I'll start with Brother Victor.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah,
You're
so
welcome,
I
sir.
think I'm from Kenya. That is one, and you know that this is one of the stories. Let me say, Mau is one of the biggest topics that we did pass through, especially in history. And I think that today I've gotten a bit of deeper part of it, which I really didn't. I've never thought about, especially when it comes to now on the deeper level engagement that we did see in Africa. Yeah. So which means they were like made to work, all that. I think we hear the biggest word is slavery, in quote, but we never thought of how did it really took place, or how did it shape in, or how did it come? Are there relatable concept? Because these things are not really taught to our mainstream. Let me say personally, yeah. Because let me say I'm still young. Let me say I'm still young. I'm still youthful in terms of there isn't where I start like studying. So I don't know if this was being done back then or the new curriculum made it out. That is what I want to know.
Yeah, can you? Yeah, hold on, Victor. Before you go on, so just so I'm
Yes.
clear on what you're saying that you've read in Google's books at school, yeah?
No,
But
no, yeah, not Ngugi, but let me say the Mau Mau, the Mau Mau.
the Mau Mau, okay. But you are saying that the presentation today has given you a deeper insight into what happened. Is that? Can you explain? Tell us more
Sure.
about that.
Yeah. The deeper insight of engagement that were there. Let me say, as much as we are talking about Mau Mau, which was bringing the concept of like more of the struggle itself, but we didn't really get the concept of how was it like happening. As much as we know that they were against in the forest, all that, but you see today, brother Big has like brought the concept in a way that like I think I can relate it well with my history class. Yeah, that is one.
Okay.
Then in the context of the continent, in terms of, let me say, I always love to let me look at something in the historical context. Then we try to link it to the current situation, which is here, actually in the continent now, and you realize that I think we've grown to a state where we are a more dangerous state than, let me say, to some extent, than this one. To some extent, in quote. I don't know if I'm right, but I see it in my own view that with the current population that is really surging up, and we were majorly physically assaulted in the past, but now we have more of mindsets as a very big hook, which I think even in the past it was mindset though, because even now, as much as we are still going to be thinking in the level of these people, or they are keeping us in their context or a given state, then it's more of we are still reducing ourselves to their level of thought, yeah, which I think that we need to be like create all these relatable stories in a way that not stories but rather these concepts to be able to be understood by us the youths. Because personally, I've never even, taken time to read this book. Yeah, it's true. I just have to be very clear. Yeah, just to be. Yeah, I've not taken time, and I don't know where to get there. That is another thing. Yeah. So yeah.
you mean, Victor? You mean the Matigari book itself? You mean?
Yes, this one, the one that we've studied.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's available, brother. Pigeon will share it with you. We have the we have the electronic version, which brother brother Pigeon, that's correct, isn't it? You have the electronic version. Is that correct?
Yes, you are correct. I have it.
Okay.
But,
Victor, when I first read it, there wasn't an electronic version at the time. I think the internet hadn't even been. The internet was not a place you go for books at the time when I read it. That was a long time ago. I read it.
Okay.
And Ngugi wrote this book he didn't write it in English. It was written in the Kenyan language, if Kikuyu, I don't know if it's Kikuyu, but he wrote it in the African language. And it was only translated later. And when he wrote it, because by then Ngugi had decided that he wasn't going to write in English anymore. Now, why should he write for the English, in the English language? So he decided to write in his mother tongue or his mother tongue Kikuyu or something like that. I don't remember the exact language. And my understanding is that the people of Kenya at the time were elated. You know, when the book was read in the language to the people, and they asked, "Who is this man that writes in our language? How come we never hear about these beautiful stories?" You know, they were surprised, and the African writers, you know, if you look at their writings, almost never write in English. But we forget that our people not all our people read English. And so it's as if we are producing for an English reading market. But the majority of our people who don't speak English, who can read English, are left out. And these good things, like this book Matigari, in a way, is not being shared with our people who gave their lives for the independence of Africa. So yeah, so in short, we have the electronic version, which Brother Pigeon can share with you. Yeah, I'm sure he has your contact. Is that correct? So he can share that with you. Yeah. Yes, Victor. Yeah. Okay. So we've heard from Victor. Victor, thank you very much. Let's hear from our sister who spoke earlier, but probably sure after having heard the story again, she might want to share with us again. Sister Wangari, we salute you. Please share with us your thoughts after hearing Matigari's story again. Thank you. Just unmute yourself and share with us. Okay, Sister Wangari may not be ready yet, so we'll go to Charles Matula, if I'm pronouncing his name right. Charles, can you share with us your thoughts, please? I haven't heard the presentation. Yeah, just unmute yourself and you can speak. Yeah. Okay.
Brother Charles, can you hear me? Can you unmute yourself if you're able? Brother Charles?
Yeah. Charles is also not responding. So let's go to Brother Coco. We'll come back to Charles if he comes back. Brother Coco. Then we'll go to Sister Myra after that. Brother Kako, what are your thoughts on what you've heard?
Hello, all family. Very good song or good narration. Thank you, Comrade Pigbin. Always great for you to lead and great for you to participate. I mean, you and brother Christian Kwame, the two of you are like models of what true leadership is. And I'm humbled to be in your presence. Long may it continue, and may most of us follow in your footsteps or take your examples and put those.
Why do you say that, Coco?
So
Why do you say that?
the reason I say that, I'm
Yeah.
looking at the number of people here. We have about 8, but if you look in the group, we are much more than that. And again, Brother Pigbin is not only in CSG, he's in several other groups. He posted this in my group, posted this in other groups, but every Saturday, only a handful of us will come up, or less than 10. True, we want to get there, but we need to start realizing that this is for all of us. And if it's for all of us, everybody has to put in an effort.
Yes, but how is that? How does that show our leadership? I don't understand. How is that? How does that make Pigeon and I models of leadership? I don't understand. That's why I asked the question.
The point that I'm trying to make here is that you brothers, you lead by example. You lead by example. You are what you're asking people to do, you are doing. You're already doing. You are, in short, you're getting your hands dirty in working hard.
Thank you for that.
I'm looking at the man we are hearing the story here, Matigari. He also put his hands, he made his hands dirty, working hard for liberty of his people. And then when he came back, saw a different picture altogether. And from a picture I remember very well of a prisoner. There's a picture of a prisoner which I will share in the group one day. There is a key outside, and there is a bread outside. So the prisoner has a stick, and he's going for the bread. Even though there's a key, he could actually reach a key, open the door, get out, and get the bread. But with regards to the mindset, when we have the colonized mindset, is always the short-term gains we are looking at. And that is how we are easily divided and conquered all the time. Because there will be some of us who will be ready to sell our mothers, our families, for quick gains, for something which is a short-term gain and nothing longer term. So the story here is trying to educate all of us to think much longer. Think about your family. Think about your daughters. Think about everyone else who's involved. The children's children. The land is for us. It's for the Africans. If I go out there and sell it for a mine, which mines and brings in revenue and pays the government 1 million and makes 100 million, what have my people? And maybe I get 100K. I build a big house, and next to me or somewhere down the road, I have my brothers who are hungry. How does that make me feel? It's asking lots of questions of all of us. But the biggest one is that unity is necessary. Unity of purpose and unity of understanding. And the education is important in that regard. I like the fact that you are reading from Professor Mwalimu Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who we were brought up on. You mentioned the book which I also read, Brother Kwame, when I was in school, a Woodnot child, I understood what the Mau Mau were going through. I knew about that from Professor. And it's a story that inspired all of us to understand what it is to be African and what it has been for our ancestors to fight for our freedom. Now, coming back to the situation in South Africa, where I come from, we got independence in 94. But what happened? Nothing. Nothing. And we don't know the full story. But the situation is that we have an ANC government, a black majority. But that government is not really in power. And same story across all of us. How can we deal with that? We need to handle that. We need to address this and know fully well that the land is ours, the power is ours, the government is ours. And if the government is ours, why can we make the changes that are beneficial for our people? Because of corporate power, because of what the West, the Western rules or the international court of settlement, whatever it is called, which is the World Bank is doing in our countries, our hands are tied. It's bigger than that, and we need to work together, all of us. But going back to what I said before, thank you for this initiative, gentlemen. It's a good start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We hear from, I know Sister Wangari has now unmuted herself. Charles has not spoken yet. Myra is here to speak. Before Myra speaks and I return to the others, let's hear the rest of the song. Let's hear the rest of the song.
Africans must be united. Things will be fine. Mama Africa will be united. Things will be fine. You Africans must be united. Things will be fine. Mama Africa will be united. Things will be fine. If we divided, we will fall. And together we can get stronger. If we divided, we will fall. And together we can get stronger. Long time Rastafari call. I and I to build up Africa. Long time Rastafari call. I and I to build up Africa.
Thank you very much. So, let's hear from Sister Myra. Now, Sister Myra is an interesting sister because she has, Brother Peter, I'm just muting you just for a moment because of the interference, yeah? Sister Myra is an interesting sister because she's one of, I would say, a few, if not any other, who has listened to all our videos and is very well informed of conscientism and the discussions we've been having. So I'm hoping that going forward, she will play a bigger role in conscientism and in fact in CSG. Because since Brother Pigeon joined us, he's helped to transform CSG. So I'm hoping that Sister Myra will help play the same role. I say so because she's listened to all our videos. Sister Myra, you've heard Brother Pigeon. What are your thoughts? Share with us, please. Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much, Brother Christian, for your very, very kind words. I always look forward to learning from everyone in the group. So if I could just talk about the bit that jumped out at me was the part where the prisoners were sharing their food and starting to tell their stories. And Matigari says, what did we used to sing? So he's talking about a time gone by. And then he says, great love I saw there among the women and the children. when a bean fell, we would share it among ourselves. And I feel for me that reminded me of the communality that used to be African life, an African way of living. And then I also really, really loved the drunkard's monologue, where he says, when the time for supper came, he sat at the table with the disciples, so togetherness. And I want us to share this Last Supper with me, to remind us that we shall not be able to eat together unless our kingdom comes. So there's a time gone, but perhaps one day our kingdom will come back, our way of being ourselves will come back. And I also really love the last part of that monologue that says, do this to one another until our kingdom comes through the will of the people. So maybe what we're doing here is part of being the will of the people. We've lost our knowledges, we've lost our ways of being, we've lost our cultures, we've lost everything. But maybe one day, through the will of the people, we will find our kingdoms again. So that really spoke to me about that era gone. And then I also noticed that the men were called the pickpocket, or the vagrant, or the drunkard, but they had names, they had good African names. So those are identities also being erased. That made me think about that. Then the other thing I wanted to say is, when I say our cultures are gone, because I see a lot of people saying we need to go back to, on social media, we need to go back to the way things were and our cultures, but I don't think that's possible, because time changes cultures. Some of us now live abroad, and even on the continent, there's a lot of influence from the West, so that can never be undone. But there are good things from our own ways and our own knowledges that we can perhaps bring to the modern age, to guide us on how to be, how to rule, how to organize our societies. Then the other thing I wanted to comment on, really general, Brother Christian and Brother Victor have touched on it, but in your introduction, Brother Christian, you said that you mentioned the books that you read at school, and that made you proud of your heritage. And then Brother Victor shared that although they had read these books then at school, he didn't get the concept. And my experience is similar to his experience, because we in Uganda, in secondary school, we did literature. It was compulsory, English literature, and Ngugi wa Thiong'o was one of the authors that we read, and we did his book, The River Between. And I'm very, very embarrassed to say that I had no idea that it was about colonialism, or that it was about expropriation of land, the injustice of colonialism, the division between the tradition and the new way of the European way. No idea. All I remember worrying about was, I need to do well, I need to get the marks, I'm learning English. That's all I can remember thinking about. And I know in this group, we all want a better Africa. And I really think that one of the ways of getting that is decolonizing the education. Because I feel like the education today, it doesn't tell us about our beings and who we were and who we are. It just produces, continue the system as it is now, but not to challenge it, not to see things in a different way. And I think education is important, because we can impress on the young minds about first of all, their history and who they are, and also the reality of their situation now in the current world system as it is. And who knows, maybe that can awaken more young Krumas or more young Sankaras, you know, who knows what potential is waiting to be awakened if we just had an education that is for African minds and for African people. So I'm really happy that we are looking, you know, just like Brother Victor says, for me, it's looking at our literature through different eyes. And yeah, that's really, really good and really helpful for me. So yeah, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Sister Myra. The time is 4 to 9, and we are very strict about time in CSG. Sorry, probably we didn't start as quickly as early as we could have, also because of internet challenges. Brother Pigeon couldn't start, but Brother Pigeon will continue his presentation, I believe, either next week or the week after, depending on what our presentation plan is. But I think we shall all be delighted to hear the rest of the story about Matigari. There's a lot of as I said, analogy, representation, figurative language, and so on in here. Everything that Ngugi has written has a meaning in our current Africa. So I will leave anything I have to say for next week, or when Brother Pigeon next presents. But yes, Sister Myra and Brother Victor, you are right that. So when we read, when we read "Weep Not Child" in school, at the time it was clear that they were fighting colonialism, and Ghana had got independence. So I am a child of the first Republic of Ghana. A lot of me and my peers. So the mindset and the environment at the time was different. A child going to school today will have a different experience from what we had, and so yeah. And when I read Matigari, when I read it many years ago, it left an indelible mark on me. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Because we are running out of time. It's only 2 minutes to go. We can't have any more speakers because we want to finish on time. And the only way we can have all the time we need to discuss is if we bar internet connections, come here early. So thank you all for coming. And I shall end.
Brother Kwame.
Yes, I shall end with
Brother
music from with the music. Hold on, with the music from our brother in diaspora, Bob Marley. But Pigeon, yes, carry on, please.
I wanted you to end with "Freedom is our goal."
Really? Freedom is our goal. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll do that.
Because these are freedom fighters.
Yes. Well, whilst I'm trying to find a song, can our brother Sister Wangari say a few words?
Sister Wangari?
If she's there, if she can,
yes, she's unmuted.
Yeah.
She can speak.
Yeah, you should speak for a few seconds because you've just shared something on the Mau Mau, and I think she might want to say a few words. Yeah, I did call her earlier, but she couldn't.
For this dance. What I can first of all say is that
Sister Wangari, speak into the mic a bit more. Thanks, so we can hear you better. Thank you.
Are you hearing me now?
It's better.
Yeah. What I can first of all say, Gogi Waziongo having been born in 1938 and being born in a family of the freedom fighters, he he wrote that book in relation to where he was brought up and how they were snatched their land, and especially for those who are from a tribe and whom we know about how our land was grabbed and how our fathers were made slaves in their own land. It is a very good book for even our children today to read them and even to be encouraged to read. It has explained everything that has been happening in our country, because women played a very great role. As you can see that lady, when they were in the cells, she is the one who made sure they had a way to get out of the cells. And also she sacrificed herself to save them from prison, because she was aware that whatever made them be imprisoned was their right, but it had been changed into a new colonial law so that they can continue enslaving and oppressing the natives. One thing which they were very clear is that they were after killing the ego of man. That man will never respect himself. You never live like the head of the house or the king, the way we African regard our men, unless despite today's life. Beforehand, we knew our men were the kings, they were the priests, and that ego was what was dealt with by the colonialists. So as I can add to what my sister said concerning education, this is the education we need to teach our children from the early childhood, even spirituality. Our spirituality, we respected our parents, we respected our creator. We lived peacefully. There is nowhere we had quarrels amongst ourselves. And in case you did a mistake, there was a sacrifice for that. And that is why when you heard about the Mugumo tree, which is a fig tree, it was a place where elders used to go to seek God's guidance, forgiveness, and plead with God for any wrong people have done. Therefore, in brief, may I just say that due to our spirituality and the ego of men and the way we treat women and children treated our men, we had that life whereby we lived a very happy life, which was disrupted by these colonialists. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So let's thank you, Sister Wangari. I'm sure you will join us again when Brother Pigeon presents. Here is a song that Brother Pigeon requested that we play. Can you hear it, Brother Pigeon?
Loud and clear. I can hear you.
Thank you. And you know my people. And you know my people.
Brother Kwame, we can hear you too.
Myra, just so you know, this song was sung when we were young, and 1976, the uprising, and Africa was on fire. Everywhere, this song was like, it was, people forget about this, and the South Africans don't even themselves remember how we stood up for them. So this song is, yeah, it has a history.
Fire is so waiting,
Right.
burning all my people. There was fire in our
And we were very young at the time, and we were playing this song, and it really was heartfelt. Africa was on fire at the time. It was on fire.
Fighting in Namibia, crushing all my people. A shooting in Soweto, hey, a killing all my people. Rebel in Zimbabwe, people. I look at them a bunny. My people are crying. I look at them a shooting. My people are dying. I look at them a robbing. My people are sighing. Tell me where you gonna go? When the person go?
Yeah, so
Tell me where you gonna hide?
just we know the meeting is finished. Feel
When
free
the
if you want to
person
leave,
go?
to leave. The recording will continue until the end of the song, however.
When the
Yeah,
light come
please
down?
feel free to leave if you
I say, what
want
you
to.
gonna
Thank you
do?
so much for coming and have a nice
When you
weekend,
find
everyone.
out the truth, the color of God, neither black nor white. We did nothing, nothing that we owe you. We need something. Will you leave us alone? We have reason. Freedom is our goal. 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 Africa is our home. Freedom is our goal. Freedom is our goal. Freedom is our goal. Will you leave us alone? Freedom is our goal. Freedom is our home. Freedom is our goal. A fire is a winter, burning on my people. Fire in Angola, burning on my people. Riot in Mozambique, affecting all my people. Fighting in Namibia, crushing all my people. A shooting in Soweto, killing all my people. A rebel in Zimbabwe, victimizing all my people. I look at them a shooting, my people are dying. I look at them a burning, my people are crying. I look at them a robbing, my people are sighing. Tell me where you gonna go when the vessel come. Tell me where you gonna hide when the Lord come down. Oh, what you gonna do when you find out the truth? The color of God, neither black nor white. How we did nothing, nothing that we owe you. How we need something, will you leave us alone? How we have reason, freedom is our goal. 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 Will you leave us alone? Freedom is our goal. 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 Freedom is our goal.